for me, I wish I would have, you know, known about the program a few years ago. Probably would have been huge. I think it's really hard for um, maybe other guys to realise, but I think where Dwayne's going through, even Phil, I, I think it's probably good timing for them because I was on my own. I was really on my own, and people don't want to, know about your problems, your struggles, whatever. So it is good to, have the group and talk about that. And now we've sort of had a bit of a laugh and joke about things, and when we speak, I think as well, which I think is good because people don't want to, you know, you to share that. I mean, especially when they ask, oh, how you going? What are you doing for Christmas? Oh, you catch up with the kids. You go, no. And then you just like bang, they just virtually walk away from you. You know what I mean? So it's, I've got to thank Marsha for putting me onto it because I'm, I don't know if she said to you, I sort of said to her, oh, look, I've gone through a fair bit and don't know how much, it's going to help me because I just felt like I've been through so much. But yeah, it has been good. So, I'd take my hat off to her and yeah, thank her. Mention that you're doing this program. So, and I'll be honest, I was a bit hesitant, and probably that's why I was sort of, came on a bit right at the end. But the stuff that you put together is pretty thought provoking. And I was rushing last night to do some stuff, and I was going through all the different relationships that I hadn't done, so I sort of was a bit behind, and got to go back through that because I think it's really important to understand all that stuff. And Ben pointed that out to me.
Yep.
So yeah, look, yeah, it definitely has been a benefit, and interesting like other guys, and it's just sad. There's so many guys going through this, and obviously you've seen it and probably felt that there's a massive gap. So I take my hat off to you for doing this, and I mean the reality is, Owen, you're saving guys' lives. I know it. I know because I don't know how many guys that you've spoken to, but it's pretty amazing to be honest. Because you know yourself, there's not much resources there for blokes. I feel like we're just dispensable, get left behind. So what you're doing is pretty amazing. It's been an interesting journey. Didn't know what to expect really, and when all the guys sort of, open themselves up, call it, show the vulnerability or whatever, and I think everyone's sort of been patient to listen to the others, and their struggles, their journeys, and a whole lot, and sort of feel one another. So I think it's sort of rare in a lot of ways because, like, as we know in Australian culture, blokes are pretty blokey and sort of don't want to talk about problems or, stuff like that. So, and I don't know how Owen finds different groups of guys, but I was sort of surprised, like we talk about everything really, we, call it, yeah, like I said, being vulnerable or whatever. It's not like anyone took advantage of that vulnerability either at the same time, So I was sort of surprised about that, to be honest, and probably I didn't realise myself that I probably had to, get a few things off my chest. I think that the forum with the guys was pretty good to be able to do that, really. And like I said, like I think I mentioned through the course, I was seeing someone. I don't know if I'm still seeing them. It's bizarre, but as soon as I sort of started to throw out, some of the things that were, my sort of struggles or vulnerabilities, I mean, that person started running for the hills. And I think, having a group like this is actually quite a good, way to express yourself and get that off your chest rather than maybe throw it onto other people who just can't handle it. And I think because we've, going through all this stuff, we understand so much better. And, despite the fact that, we're not in the best place, I think we can sort of handle the fact that other guys are doing it tough and it's not bothering each other, like it doesn't, it's not like, okay, Brian or Phil or, Ben, whatever,
you talk about your pain, it's not like any of us are running away from that pain. You know, we're there to sort of listen and support, which I find is pretty incredible, to be honest. You know, so just a hats off to the group of the guys and probably the environment that Owen sort of created. So I think you made it easy, Owen, for us guys to chat about stuff. You know, so it's probably a credit to you and how you run the course and maybe your experience, I suppose, as well over the years. Yeah, that's my thoughts.